Okay, good morning. Okay, so let's start with spanning tree protocol, STP. So have you heard about spanning tree protocol? Yes. Can you tell me what is spanning tree protocol? Any idea? No. You? Martoito. Very good. Okay, now let's have a look at the design, implementation of a switch. How do you connect multiple switches? Let's say you have one switch here. Okay, and maybe another switch here, another switch here. So you can implement switches in two methods. One is known as cascading format. Okay, what is that? Let's say this switch 1 is connected to switch 2. Let's say switch 2 is connected to switch 3. And maybe you have one more switch here. For example, I'm saying that is also connected over here like this. One by one, it is connected. This is known as cascading format. Okay. And now fine. So a lot of computers are also connected over here for each switches. Okay, so a lot of computers are connected. Now this is a normal implementation, right? Like this normal computer, a lot of computers are connected to each switches depends on the ports available. So already you people know like switch available with 8 port, 24, 16, 24 and 48 ports, right? Now let's say all are communicating properly. All of a sudden, okay, this link, the middle link went down, or maybe this link, or maybe this link went down. It got disconnected. Maybe the cable is a what's the cable have a there's a bad cable, or cable got a loose contact, or whatever it is. Okay, this cable got unplugged. So what happens now? What is the result now? So it's sorry. Look at this. Okay. So what happens as per this? So your network is split into two pieces, right? So this will communicate separately and this will communicate separately. So very simple. Your network is not stable now. Okay. All the devices won't be able to communicate together because your network is split. Clearly understand? So how to overcome from this problem? So now this is a problem, right? If you lose the connectivity, then it's gone. Okay. You're going to break your networks. And how to overcome from this problem? Do you have any solution for that? Means even though if I lose this connection, okay, still I should be able to communicate. In case because of some reason, if I lose this connection or maybe this connection, still I should be able to communicate. Ring topology. You're going to implement something like a ring topology. So how can I implement that here? So bring one more link between any switches here, right? Now, for example, let's say I'll take this switch and I'm going to connect maybe to this one or maybe to this one, whatever it is. So now what happened? If I lose this connectivity, still I will be able to communicate. Is it clear? Now you may think, what if I lose this connect? Then it's gone. That's what you proper implementation you should do. If you want to have a full redundancy connection over here, okay. So you should connect the cable, not to this switch, should connect to this switch actually. Is it clear? Now you lose this link or maybe this link or maybe this link, still you will be able to communicate. Now, if you ask me like, what if all of the link goes down? Then it's a disaster. You can't do anything. Okay. So if you want to bring more backup, then you should have more redundancy. Let's say I'm going to bring one more connection over here. Okay. So one more connection from here to here. Like this, you can bring it. It is up to you. It's totally up to you. Is it clear? In network, we used to have this kind of redundancy connections. So the first point, what I would like to make here, redundancy. Redundancy is good and necessary and required. It is must required. It is required. So in network, you always keep it in mind. Okay, if you have two links, it's like kind of one. And if you have one, it is like you don't have anything, nil, none. I mean to say, okay, if you have two devices, assume that you have one devices. If you have two paths, assume that you have one path. If you have like two internet connections, assume that you have one internet connection. Okay, so as per our redundancy concept. Okay, because if that, let's say you have only one interconnection, and if that interconnection went down, in the sense the whole communication is gone, right? So you should have a backup connections for that. Okay, this is required. This seems good. If I connect the device switches in this format, as I'm gonna remove this. Let's say if I connect the switches in this format, okay, do I have any problem with this? Do we face any problem with this? You got my point, right? So first we implemented as switches, but there was no backup connectivity. So if I lose any one of the link, then your network is like broken, right? So to overcome from that problem, we implemented a backup connection here. That's what known as redundancy connection. So we just took a cable and connected from this switch to this switch, a separate link, another link. Okay. So now, okay, fine. We got the connectivity properly. So if I connect the switches in this format, what is it, like a ring format? Okay, it's kind of a ring format. So do we face any problem? Sorry? Cable cost. That's not a big deal. That you can say we use one more port. Okay, few more ports will be used. Okay, then what is the problem we may face with this?
I mean, you actually have to communicate to a computer which is on a neighboring switch, but if that link is broken, you have to take the longer path to that.
Good. So in case if I want to communicate here, okay, so if this link is broken, I should come from the longer back, okay, longer path, right? Fine, acceptable, but it's not going to make that much delay. Okay, it's like in a network, it's just like 1 milliseconds, 2 milliseconds communication will happen. Okay, we are not going to worry about that. No, there is no much effect on speed of communication. Fine, but so that's a notable point, but still it's not going to make much effect over here. Okay. Sorry?
Traffic.
What kind of traffic?
For example, when broadcasting is there, both paths it will broadcast.
Yeah, similar. Okay, that's right. Actually, that is a problem. Now, when if any PC, you people already know that I talk about the ARP protocol when I was explaining about the switch functionality. Okay, so what I said, whenever the PC wants to communicate, it initiates ARP, address resolution protocol, to find out the destination MAC address. So that this ARP always will be broadcast packet, right? So PC will tell to the switch to broadcast the packet. Now, for example, ARP says like, who is 10.0.0.6, for example, is going to broadcast like this. Okay, so let's say this piece is what 10.0.0.6. So now this is a broadcast message. This will be sent in a broadcast manner. The packet will go to all the computers, all the devices in your network, right? Now just have a look here. What happens when you send the broadcast message? Switch received it. Switch received it. Switch received it. Okay. So now what switch will do? It says, oh, fine, it's a broadcast message. It found that. How come it is found it? Now this packet actually look like this. So you have a data, source IP, destination IP, source MAC, and destination MAC, right? Source IP address will be, for example, 10.1. Destination IP address, no, 10.1, 0.1, 10.0.0.1. Destination IP address will be 0.6. Source MAC address is going to put its MAC address, for assume that it's 1111. Destination MAC address, it don't know, it's going to put FFFF, right? So this is a broadcast MAC address. When switch receives it, it's going to read this MAC address part. Source MAC address will be added in the MAC table. Destination MAC address is a broadcast MAC address. So what switch will do? It will broadcast to everyone. Okay, except this PC. It's going to broadcast here, it's going to broadcast here, it's going to broadcast here, as well as it's going to broadcast here. Now what these devices does is going to say, no, we are not that. I'm going to reject those packets. It's done. It's good. But when you look at this interface, we connect it to another switch. So what this switch will do? It received, then it will broadcast to all other interfaces. Again, these two pieces will reject it, but here it went to another switch. What this switch will do? Broadcast. Broadcast. This is rejected. Now this switch receiving. What this switch will do? Broadcast and broadcast. Look at this. Broadcast. This piece is rejected. Is it clear? Now this broadcast will be received by the same switch. Now again, it already sent one broadcast message here, right? It's going to receive it over here. It's going to broadcast back to this. Have a look here. Are you getting what I'm saying here? So as per this, what happens? Whenever you send a broadcast message, it will keep on roam between the switches itself. There is no end for that. So this is called, this is what called as loop. What is loop? Like a circle, right? The packet will fall in the loop. Is it clear? If the loop occurs, it's going to create huge traffic, as you told. Plus, that's one point. plus maybe I don't want to communicate from here to here. I'm actually trying to communicate to the next switch device. Why should my broadcast go to all the devices there? Right? That's why we implement VLAN, as I discussed in the previous class. Is it clear? However, now the broadcast packet is going everywhere. In place now here, I just have like 4 switches. It's okay. What if you have like 100 switches? The broadcast will happen to all 100 switches. What if you have 1,000 switches? It goes to all the 1,000 switches. Is it clear? That's how it's going to create huge broadcast. Unnecessary broadcast, I would say. Is it clear? You got it right? So STP, what STP does, it is built in there in your switch. You need not to enable it. It's already there. Built in, it is available. STP is used to avoid loop. That's it. One simple statement. STP is used to avoid the loop. STP is used to avoid the loop. So clearly understand? Okay, shall I rub this now? So I'm gonna sorry. So now few questions. Let's see. I wrote a diagram here. Like let's say this is switch 1, this is switch 2, and for example this is switch 3. Okay, so and we have a connectivity like this. For a backup connectivity, we're going to bring this link, right? Okay, so we can see this physical connectivity, and even I bring this link, right, so that you can say we have a redundancy link over here. But how switch actually identify that yes, I connected in a loop format? Now we can tell that because we are doing the configurations, we know the concepts. Okay, we implemented a counter words that network and all those stuff, so we can say that okay, there is a loop. But how switches identify that yes, I connected in a loop format? That's the first question. Clearly understand? The second question, okay, fine, even though if it is found, what it may do? And the third question, I would say, which link will be considered as a redundancy link? Now, can you tell me which is the redundancy link here? Is it this one, or this one? We have 3 links here. Which is the redundancy link? Longest link. No. Here can you say? Here you just tell me.
Actually, for every link, they have one redundancy.
So the answer is like, as you told, all the links could be a redundancy link. Could be, I'm saying, not necessary to be. So among these 3, any 2 links will be the active link, the primary link. The another one will be redundancy. That could be this one, that could be this one, or that could be this one. Is it clear? Now, what STP does to first step, what STP should do? First one, STP will find loop. How to find a loop? Finding a loop. How does switch or STP will find a loop? Are you getting my point? So we found a loop because we connected that. We know that we connected in a circle format. Are you getting my point? But how does switch identify? So first step is going to find out the loop. And the second step, okay, so it will try to avoid loop. Second one, I say avoiding loop. Finding loop, then it's going to avoid a loop. Is it clear? Clearly understand? Okay, now let's go for the first one, finding a loop. How STP will find a loop. Now the possibilities. I'm just talking about the possibility. Let's say computer is connected. Okay, this is sending a broadcast message. So if this switch receives the same broadcast message from other interfaces, it may assume that is a loop, right? Yes, possible. But the MAC address, how it is going to, what's that, believe that this MAC address is connected only to me. Now you can plug out the cable and plug into this device. The same computer can plug it over here. The same MAC address broadcast packet it may receive. Are you getting my point? Right now, the MAC address is, for example, 0000. Okay, it's connected to me, but the next time it may connect it to this switch. So I receive the same broadcast MAC address over there, right? So that is not the method. Then how it is going to identify? So it comes with switch behavior. So far you have done little practicals, right? Have you used a simulation mode in Cisco Packet Tracer? I told like simulation mode. Simulation, real time and simulation. Have you used this option in Cisco Packet Tracer? No, what about you two? Simulation. If you have used, then you might have observed that once your conversation is complete, if you click on next, switch will broadcast some packet. Okay, switch will broadcast some packet. Now, that's a behavior of a switch. Switch, now finding a loop. The first one, we're actually finding a loop. Switch sends kind of a hello packet. Okay, switch sends BPDU for every 2 seconds. Switch sends BPDU for every 2 seconds. Every 2 seconds. What is this BPDU? It is just like a hello packet. So it's gonna just say like I am alive, like that. Okay, assume like that. It sends a BPDU. This is a normal behavior. Every 2 seconds, so the switch will communicate. It speaks something. What is that? BPDU. Are you getting my point? Every 2 seconds, switch will keep on communicate to other devices, all other devices. Clearly understand what I'm saying? So now this BPDU contains few information. One is bridge priority. And the second one, MAC address. One is bridge priority and the second one, MAC address. Okay, so bridge priority bits, that switch priority is going to specify here. You know what is priority, right? You know the priority meaning. Okay, so like higher value, I would say. So it's gonna add its priority and the MAC address. Now the problem with all the switches is all switches have the same priority. It's like equal. Okay, you bring like a higher end switches or the lower end switches, doesn't matter. All the switch have same priority here. The priority value is 32,768. 32,768. 32,768. Just watch me later, you can write. I'll give you the time. Okay. So this is the bridge priority number we have by default. Okay. So then it's going to add the MAC address as well. Assume this switch MAC address is like 2222. And this switch MAC address is like 3333. And this is like 1111, for example. Assume these are the MAC addresses of a switch. So in this BPDU, as I told, every 2 seconds it sends some packet, right? Inside there is going to put this two information and it's going to broadcast. Now let's say, take an example of this switch. This switch sending a BPDU to this interface as well as to this interface. What information it is having inside the BPDU? This information. Look at this, bridge priority and the MAC address it is having. Is it clear? Now what happens? The opposite switch received it and it's going to broadcast here. And again, this switch received from here and it's going to broadcast here. At the same time, even this switch received from this interface and it's going to broadcast here. Again, this switch is going to broadcast here. Are you getting my point? Are you getting my point? Now, as per this, what happened? The switch actually sending the packet from their interface, but it's receiving the same packet, same packet. Okay, from different interfaces. Can you see that? From different interfaces. So now like this, switch is going to assume that I connected in a loop format. Clearly understand? Switch is going to believe that I am connected in a loop format. Clearly understand? Now this is how it is going to find a loop. Now switch found a loop. Is it clear? Switch identified a loop. It assumes that, okay, so I am sending the packet from this interface. Okay, the same packet, BPDU broadcast packet, I'm receiving from this interface. And even I send from this interface, the same packet I received from this interface. Okay, so I connected somehow, I connected in a loop format. Is it clear? Switch is going to believe that all the switches is going to do the same stuff. All the switches will send the BPDU and all the switches will identify that we connected in a loop format. Is it clear? That's how it is going to find out the loop. Now loop is found, right? So what is the next step? It will try to avoid. It will try to avoid the loop. How it is going to avoid a loop? Let's have a look at that. So you noted down this, all of you? Copy it?
Each system will have its own MAC address with priority.
Switch, yeah. Okay, so priority is by default same, but the MAC address cannot be same because it's a unique address, right? MAC address is a unique address, it cannot be same. So it will be different. So using MAC address is going to identify, yes, we can in a loop format.
So this BPDU thing, whatever it is sending, that is only giving the initial thing, right? I mean, until
Every 2 seconds.
every 2 seconds.
Every 2 seconds. Yes, it keeps it.
Now in this case, which loop, that means which switch it will avoid? Switch one.
No. All switch finds their own loop. All switch finds a loop. Okay, all switches. I took an example of this switch, that's it. But all switches does sense a BPDU, and all switches will identify that we connected in a loop form. Then all together is going to perform spanning tree protocol.
Basically about the whatever broadcast it did, and it receives the same thing on another
Interface.
other interface.
Yes.
It gets to know that it is
Yes, that's it.
So at that point, will it still continue sending the BPDU or will it wait for the other options?
No, BPDU will go on. BPDU will be sent even after all the link comes up. BPDU will go on. It will keep on sending the BPDUs. Okay, got it right? Any questions here? Okay, so this is, now we found a loop. Now we need to avoid. Shall I rub this? Now second one. Oh, even the switch went out. Okay, I'm gonna open the switch again. Switch number 1,
BPDUs,
switch number 2, switch number 3.
BPDUs protocol data units. What is the
Bridge protocol data unit. Protocol data. Okay, so this is switch 1. This is switch 2. This is switch 3. What did I said? MAC addresses. This is 32,768. MAC address is 1111. This is 32,768. It's a priority number. MAC address is 2222.
All the switches will have
32,768.
the same priority number, 32,762.
That's a priority. All are equal. Okay, it's a priority, right? Now by default, how come they decide, okay, this switch have high priority or low priority? While manufacturing, they set the same priority. All the switches, the old switches, new switches, everything will have the same priorities. Okay, that's why it goes based on the MAC addresses. Next that we have a MAC address here, right?
So that 32,762 is fixed.
Fixed. Okay, it's there, built in there. Later, if you want, you can change it. So, okay, fine. So now you got it right. Now the second one, avoiding loop. Now we need to avoid a loop. STP, in a sense, STP need to avoid a loop. How it is going to avoid? So for that, first point, what STP does, now let's mark this. It's going to elect, STP will elect a root bridge. Or you can say core switch. It's just like a leader. STP is going to elect a leader among these three. Okay, STP runs some algorithm, it's going to find out, okay, it's going to elect one of the switch as a leader. Maybe here I just have 3 switches. You may have 100 switches. Among the 100 switches, one switch will be elected as a leader. It's going to do little election here. Clearly understand? Okay. And the second one, after root switch is elected, root bridge is elected. Okay, it's going to assign STP ports. Assigns STP ports. It's going to assign STP ports. Now first, let's select the root bridge. Now listen. Later you can copy. I'll give you the time. Listen here. Okay, it's first let's elect the root bridge. Now of course, when the election happens, all 3 switches will fight, right? All 3 switches will say like, we will be a leader and you just be a normal people, right? All the switches will start fighting it. Now how does the election will happen? So this election goes based on the bridge priority. Bridge priority. Now all the switches have the same priority. Can you see there? It is 32,768. Now what happened? This is tie. If it is tie, it will go based on the lower MAC address. So lower MAC address. Clearly understand? Now which is having a lower MAC address here? Can you tell me? So of course this one. This is the lower MAC address, right? So what happens? This switch won the election and become as a core switch or the root bridge. This switch won the election and become a core switch. It means a leader. Clearly understand? Got it right? Okay, this becomes a core switch. So root bridge is elected now. Means the core switch or the leader is elected now. So now it will go for the second. It assigns STP ports. Under STP, you get three types of ports. One is root port. And second one, designated port. And the third one, or the last one, blocking port. A root port, designated port, and the blocking port. So what is the difference here? So root port means a shortest path to the root switch. Shortest path to root. Shortest path to root. That's what root switch. Shortest path to root. You got this right? Root port in the sense shortest path to root switch. Now who is the root switch here? This one, right? Now is it possible for them to have a root port? Not necessary, because they themselves a root switch. Why should they have root port here? Is it clear? So they cannot, the core switch cannot have a root port. No root port in core switch. No. What about the blocking port? They won't block themselves. No. Is it clear? I'm saying they cannot have a root port because they themselves are root switch, and they cannot have a blocking port. Why do they block themselves? Because they are the leader. Why do they block themselves? No. So what is left out here? Designated port. It's very simple. By default, core switch or the root bridge port will be a designated port. That's a default one. That's a default one. If you want, you can write that as a point. But you think, okay, why it is designated port? Very simple. Root port means it's the shortest path to the root switch. This itself a root switch. Why it needs to find out a path? Not necessary. Then what is the other port? We have blocking port. Why it is going to block the port? Because they are the leader. So what is left out here is designated port. By default, switch ports will be a designated port. Okay, got it right? Okay, so now let's find the root port. Now who should find out the shortest path to the root? Other switches. In our scenario, it is only these two switches. It has to find a shortest path to the root switch. Clearly understand? Now let's say if they want to communicate to the core switch or to the root switch, okay, they have two links. No, just watch here. Stop writing. Watch here. Otherwise, you'll get confused. Okay, I just want to make one point here, one statement here. STP is the most difficult topic in switching. Okay, you may feel that, okay, you understood everything here. Okay, I just put a mark and all, but after some time, definitely will get confused. Okay, now look at this. So now who should find out the root port? Other switches except the core switch. In our scenario, we just have these two switches. Now these two switches will try to find the shortest path to the root. Okay, now how many links they have? If this S1 wants to communicate to S2, how many links they have? How many ways? Two links. This one? Yes. Now which is the shortest path here? This one, right? But not necessary to be. I'm saying not necessary to be. How come? Any idea? I'm saying not necessary. Not necessarily this should be the shortest path. Can you tell me any scenario for that?
That's because it depends upon how it's connected to the root.
No,
No, this is directly connected here.
No, it will be different building as one. This will be simple.
Good. It could be a different building. It could be too longer and anything else. It depends on actually speed. Okay. In switches, we'll get the interfaces, right? Fast Ethernet interface, gigabit Ethernet. Assume that, okay, here you connected fast Ethernet interface. But here you connected gigabit Ethernet. Here also you connected gigabit Ethernet interfaces. Is it clear? Now you take an example of 100 MB data. Here it may take let's say 1 GB data, for example. Here it may take like 10 seconds, but here it will take only 2 seconds to reach. Are you getting my point? So now this could be the shortest path. Even though it has to cross one switch or maybe the two switch, that could be the shortest path because that's having high speed link. Is it clear? So shortest path always will be calculated based on cost value. That is considered as cost here. Cost value. Cost value. STP already defined their cost values. Okay, so if you have 10 Mbps, 10 Mbps link, your cost value is 100. If you have 100 Mbps, then your cost value is 19. If you have 1 Gbps, then your cost value is 4. If you have 10 Gbps, then your cost value is 2. It is predefined. It is predefined. Now, as I told, here I have a fast Ethernet. So the cost value is going to say, so I have 19. And here I've connected to gigabit Ethernet. The cost value is 4. And here it is 4. Now look at this, calculate. It is 19, but here it is just 8. So the switch may believe, okay, this is the shortest path. Are you getting my point? Chances are there. Chances are there. Okay, so you got it right. That's how you need to calculate actually based on the cost value. Now let's go with the built-in, the default cost value here. Let's bring the link again. Okay, since we directly connected, of course, this could be the shortest path because we connected to the same link. Assume that we connected the same link. So cost value is 19 here, cost value is 19, 19. We have the same cost value, same speed. So the directly connected one will be the shortest path, and this port will be a root port. Are you getting my point? Root port. Now this switch found a root port, found a shortest path to the switch, done. Code switch, done. Now this switch is going to say, okay, this is the root port because this is the shortest path to the core switch. Is it clear what I'm saying? So root port is elected now. Root port calculation will happen based on the cost value. Okay, shortest path to the root. Clearly understand? Now what is left out here? Which link is left out? This one. Why? Because have a look here. Both the ports, here it is DP, here it is RP, here it is DP, here it is RP. But here we don't have anything. Now this is what considered as redundancy link. This is what considered as redundancy link. Clearly understand? That's what I told. Any link could be the redundancy link, but STP found this as a redundancy link. Is it clear? And again, on this link, it will try to assign the port. Again, on this link, it will try to assign the port. So can they have a root port? The answer is no, because they already figured it out, right? They already have a root port. They cannot have a root port there. On this link, it's not possible. Then it comes to designated port. So designated port means it's just like a forwarding port. Forwarding port. Forwarding. So it's saying that we are ready to transfer the data. Okay. But there is a rule under the designated port. It can be only one per link. The rule is it can be only one per link. It can be only one per link. Clearly understand? Have a look here. Here, how many designated port we have? Only one. This is one link. How many designated port we have? Only one, right? So here, this is also one link. How many designated port we have? Only one. Like that, here also I can have only one designated port. Now again, which one is that? Again, the fighting will get started because if this is considered as a designated port, this should block its port. If this considered as a designated port, opposite side it should block their port because left out is only blocking port. Remaining all ports are blocking port. Remaining all. I'm saying remaining all. It means it is not necessary that we should have only one block port. You may have 10 or 20 block ports, depends on your redundancy links. Clearly understand? Okay, now again, both the switches will start fighting it. So again, the calculation goes like this. If you want to elect a designated port, so both the switches will look for the shortest path to the root. First point, shortest path to root. It says that, okay, let's calculate who is having the shortest path to the core switch. The result as per this, the result is both the switches, because this switch also have the shortest path to the root switch with the cost of 19. This switch also have the shortest path to the root switch with the cost of 19. They have the directly linked connection over here, right? So it is tie now. It is tie. If it is tie, then it will go based on the bridge priority. Bridge priority. Now what happened as per the bridge priority? Again, all the switches will have the same bridge priority. What is that bridge priority number? 32,768. It is also tie. high. Then it will go based on the lower MAC address. I'm saying like lower MAC address. Now among these two switches, which is having the lower MAC address among these two? Of course, this one. So now this switch 1 and this port will be a DP, designated port, and the opposite side will be a blocking port, because I told remaining all are blocking ports. So this will be the blocking port. That's it. Forwarding. Clearly understand? So this is how STP will avoid a loop. What typically STP does here, it just like drops a tree on the redundancy link. It means it's going to block a port on a redundancy link. It's going to block one port on a redundancy link. Now, what is my active path? This one. This is the active path. Whenever you now, in case from here to here, if you want to communicate, even though if you have a direct link, the packet will travel like this, because that's a active link we have. As per STP, only one active link. Only one active link. Remaining all backup links, but by default that will be blocked. When this active link goes down, then the backup link will come up. Clearly understand? Any questions, any doubt on this? So just take a 2 minutes of time, have a look there. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Okay, so now as per this, so now we found, okay, this is the redundancy link and this is a blocking port. Okay, no, I'll clean it now. Okay, so you got this right. Let's say I'm going to delete this again. Let's bring the switch. So what is the priority number? 32768. MAC address is 2222 and 32768. MAC address is 1111. 32768. MAC address is 3333. So which is a blocking port here? So this is the blocking port, right? So this is the designated port, and this is a designated port, and there's a root port, and this is the root port, right? And this is the designated port, and this is a blocking port. Based on the MAC address, all the calculation happen. Based on the MAC address, all the calculations happen, right? Why it is a designated port? Because this itself a core switch, so that by default will be a designated port. By default, okay, so core switches, all ports will be a designated port. That's the default status. It's blocked, right? That let it be. What's the problem? Designated port. I said designated port could be only one per link. Now this is one link. This is one link. One side should have a designated port. Clearly understand? Okay. Got it right? Okay, so now we found the value here. Now the enhancement. Now let's say, do you remember I was telling from the starting class itself? Okay, starting class itself. Excuse me. Okay. So do you remember, like I was telling in the previous classes, whenever you plug in any device to the switch, any device, it could be a computer, it could be another switch, it could be a router, any device to the switch. Okay, so it's going to take up to 30 seconds, to bring the link up. It's going to take up to 30 seconds to bring the link up. Minimum it's going to take 30 seconds usually. That's a normal behavior of a switch. Okay, so after 30 seconds only, all the link will go green. So then you will be able to transfer your data. Still that it's not possible. Now, why it is taking 30 seconds of time? That is because of STP. That is because of STP. Now, whatever we discussed so far, that has to run, right? So that for that it's required a time. So that's why as 30 seconds is going to use for that. Is it clear? So here it comes, STP port status concept. STP port status concept. So you have a listening port, you have learning port, forwarding port, and the final one, blocking. And at the port status, you have listening, learning, forwarding, and blocking. Clearly understand? Listening, learning, forwarding, and blocking. Now, whenever you plug in any device to the STP ports, to the switch port, it's going to take up to 15 seconds. The first 15 seconds, it will just listen to that port. What does that mean? Now, let's say I plugged in a device over here. The first 15 seconds, it'll just listen. It'll not go do anything. It'll just listen to that port. Okay, what device we connected over there? Are we connected a computer? Are we connected a switch? Are we connected a router or IP phone or CCTV camera? What we actually connected there? Okay, it's going to listen to that. First of all, it will listen. Okay, so all the devices have their own behavior, right? As I told, switch have their own behavior. Switch will send BPDU for every 2 seconds, right? BPDU every 2 seconds. Now, this is the default behavior of a switch. Now, in case if switch received BPDU from this interface, it assumes that, okay, we connected to another switch over there. So typically, it just need to identify the switches. It is not going to worry about other devices, maybe the computer, router, IP phone. It's not going to worry about other devices. It's going to worry about only switches. It just need to identify, did I connect it to another switch on each links? Okay, that's what first 15 seconds is just going to listen to that. And the next 15 seconds, it's going to learn about that device. Okay, if it is a switch or any device, it's going to run CDP and it's going to find out the MAC address of that, IP address of that. Okay, all the information it is going to learn. So for learning, it's going to take 15 seconds. So total, it is 30 seconds. That is why whenever you plug in any device to the switch, it takes 30 seconds of time to bring the link up. First 15 seconds is going to listen. The second 15 seconds is going to learn. Clearly understand? So total, it will take 30 seconds to bring the link up. So once 30 seconds is done, listening and learning is done, immediately it will move to forwarding state, means ready to communicate, kind of ready to communicate. Ready to communicate. It's going to immediately bring the port to the forwarding state. Means ready to communicate. Clearly understand? Done. Now, what about this blocking? So if any ports need to block, we have discussed, right? The port will get blocked, right? Now let's say my active link went down. Now this is a blocking port. Now let's say my active link, this is the active link, this is the active link. Any one of them went down. So what happens? So switches will send a BPDUs, right? Now it cannot receive any BPDU from this interface. It assumes that, and however, when the link is down, the interface also will go down, right? So based on that, it assumes that, okay, so we lost a connectivity. Okay, let's run the STP again. It's gonna run the STP again. Okay. So based on that, and I'll say it will keep on, it will try to, again, it will go to the listening state and learning state. It will try to find the loop and all those stuff. Okay, to bring this blocking port, it's already blocked, right? To bring this blocking port back to the active status. Where's that? Where is it? Back to the active status. To bring this link back to the active status, okay, it's going to take up to 20 seconds. Up to 20 seconds. Important. Clearly understand? Now this port was earlier blocked, right? Since we lost a connectivity here, to bring this blocked port back to the active status, it takes up to 20 seconds. I'm saying up to. It may turn back immediately, like in like 1 second, or maybe 2 seconds, or 5 seconds, or 20 seconds. Depends on your network size. Since we connected only 3 switches here, it may just come in like 1 second. Are you getting my point? But in the real scenarios, like where you have hundreds of switches, it may take up to 20 seconds to bring the port, blocking port back to the active status, or back to the forwarding state. Clearly understand? Now overall, you have a look. Now once I lost my active link, and if I want this blocking port to back to the forwarding state, and if I want my stable network connectivity, it will take up to 15 plus 15, 30 plus 20, up to 50 seconds. Is it clear? I'm saying up to 50 seconds. So what is minimum here? Minimum it takes 30 seconds, and up to 50 seconds is going to take. Because 15 seconds will listen, 15 seconds is going to learn, then it may take up to 20 seconds to bring the block port back to the forwarding state. Clearly understand? Overall, it's going to take 50 seconds. Now till that 50 seconds, your network is in outage. Means none of the device won't be able to communicate. None of the device will be able to communicate. Because it's running the STP again, all the ports will go down, runs the STP, right? So communication will not happen up to 50 seconds, minimum 30 seconds. Is it clear? Clearly understand what I'm saying? So you have to take a count of 50 seconds because you should always go for the maximum. Okay, take 50 seconds network outage. If you have like plenty of switches, 20, 30 switches, definitely will take up to 50 seconds. Clearly understand? Now 50 seconds, your network is an outage. So all the people, all the industries started to fight against this STP, saying that 50 seconds we cannot tolerate, we cannot wait. Now you may feel, okay, what happens with the 50 seconds? Now nothing will happen with the 50 seconds if you are just doing the normal data transmission. Is it clear? But if your business is running on voice based or maybe the services based, is it clear? Then definitely it's a huge problem. But just imagine if the Google server went down for 50 seconds all over the world, how much huge loss they will face. Is it clear what I'm saying? So everyone, all the industries started to fight against this STP, saying that we cannot tolerate this 50 seconds of network outage. Is it clear what I'm saying? But however, we cannot do that's a default behavior of a STP. So they introduce, the first one is STP, they introduce something called RSTP. Rapid Spanning Tree Protocol. Rapid Spanning Tree Protocol. The name says it is rapid, means it's super fast. It's super fast. Is it clear? So it is not going to take 50 seconds at all. Now I'm talking about the RSTP, not too much difference between STP and RSTP. The concept, BPDU, that all are same. Is it clear? The point here, whenever you lose this primary link, active link, okay, it's not going to wait even for 1 or 2 seconds. Immediately the link will come up. Immediately, I'm saying the redundancy link will come up. Now, how come it is possible? Because STP was believing them as a blocking port, right? It was blocking the port. But in RSTP, we don't have a concept of blocking. We'll call them as alternative port. We'll call them as alternative port. Is it clear? Alternative means what? It's a backup port. If I lose my primary link, I'm going to transfer that immediately to the alternative port. I don't do much calculation over that. Clearly understand? That you got it right? Clearly understand? Okay, so within a second, the link will come up. This is what RSTP does. Because we don't have a blocking port there, and we'll call them as alternative port. Any questions, any doubt on this? You clearly understood? This is what RSTP. Okay, REST, BPDUs and all by default it is same.
In this situation, if they design just STP, you will be able, normal visibility, I'm saying, you will be able to see that one port has been blocked. Probably it's LED status and change.
Yes.
And if it is RSTP running, it will be considered like a backup port and it will still be green. Or will it still have some other?
No, it will be orange. It won't be green.
It will be orange.
Yes.
Okay. But the only
immediately it turns to green.
The only difference is it is considered as an
Alternative
port, and it will be like standby.
Yes.
Extra port.
Not extra port. How can you say extra port? It is not extra port. It's considered as backup port. I have a backup link. That's it. If this primary is down, then I'm going to use this way. That's it. Immediately.
Blocking the STP. When it comes to RSTP, we say it as alternate.
Alternative port.
So in that case, in RSTP, then root switch everything will not change.
Now that is common. That will be same. That's why I told STP is safe. Okay. See, in your new syllabus, whatever you're learning is CCNA, so they have removed STP topic. It is RSTP only.
Oh.
Okay, but if you want to understand STP, means if you want to understand RSTP, you should know STP as well, right? Okay, because in all the organizations still we have STP.
I mean, it's same. No, sir. There is no difference apart from this alternate.
Yes, but this is faster. That's what it's rapid. It's faster. Remaining concept are same.
So actually, they're expecting you to explain RSTP including STP.
It's kind of that. Okay. Yeah. So now and you don't have listening port in RSTP. No blocking, no listening. Only learning. Okay, that's the difference. Any questions, any doubt here? Any questions, any doubt? Clearly understood, all of you? Got it, right? I'm going to bring the scenario, so that's you guys practice it. Okay, I will just show some verification here, then I'll bring one scenario, you guys practice it. Okay.
We initially add a new device that comes into the picture. The switch will try to identify what sort of device it is, right? So it will send that VPDU and all this. So in that case, that listening port will come in.
Yeah.
So
only on that port, that interface it will be listening, right? Not all the interfaces.
So if RSTP is running in the environment and if you are adding a new device, will listening not work on that port? How will it understand that?
Learning you have, right?
So
no, it's very simple. Why should I spend 15 seconds to listen? Why should I listen for? Now every 2 seconds sends a BPDU, right? Once I receive the first BPDU, I can assume that you connected to a switch.
Okay, so basically,
it's why should I waste for a long time?
Okay, it's like it does not do anything. Someone is connecting to me. Let him send something. Then I learn.
Yes.
It's like that.
It's like that.
But if the connecting device is a switch, that is coming into the RSTP concept, right? So it will also be learning more.
No. I'm saying you don't have listen, learn differentiation. Separate. Only one state you have. Okay. It will send a BPDU. It will just receive that BPDU, and it will come to know. Okay, I connected to a switch. That's it. Now this is the name they have given. Ignore the name. Okay. Based on name, you are getting confused. Ignore the activity is same. The same, they reduce the time. Okay. Clearly understand here? Any questions, any doubt? As per this. Okay. Now the final part here. The same thing. Okay. Now built-in. Okay, we are running STP, right? But built-in actually it's running something called PVST. Have you heard about this PVST? Per VLAN spanning tree protocol. So in the previous class, we created a VLAN, right? What VLAN does? Now this is one broadcast domain. If you implement a VLAN, it becomes like multiple broadcast domain. And for each VLAN, okay, STP will run. That is what per VLAN spanning tree protocol. Now assume that in these three switches, okay, I implemented total like maybe 4 VLANs. Assume that we implemented 4 VLANs in these 3 switches. Okay. Now, as per VLAN 1, this is the core switch. This is the core. As per VLAN 1, this is the core. As per VLAN 2, which will be the core? Could be same. VLAN 3, it could be same. VLAN 4, it could be same. Is it clear? Now, so here you can even bring little load balancing stuff. Now, in case, as per VLAN 1, as per all the VLAN, this port will be blocked, right? I can make some changes here. I'm just telling theoretically, more you will get in CCNP actually. Okay. So now I can make for VLAN 1, let it be this as a core switch, but for VLAN 2, I'm going to make this as a core switch. And for VLAN 3, I'm going to make this as a core switch for VLAN 3. Is it clear? In that case, what happened? As per VLAN, no, just understand the concept here. As per VLAN 1, this is the blocking port. Are you getting my point? No. This I said, no, this is a blocking port, right? Okay, now this I said, like it got disconnected. Okay,
No, it's okay.
Whatever it is, no, you should not get confused then again. That's why. Okay, as per VLAN 1, so this is the blocking port, right? So let's say as per VLAN 2, we may block this possible. Let's say as per VLAN 3, we may block this possible. Now have a look here. VLAN 1, I'm going to take the green color. VLAN 1 packet transmission will happen like this. Are you getting my point? So now take VLAN 2. Have a look at VLAN 2. Where is VLAN 2? This one, right? The VLAN 2 block this one. The packet transmission may happen like, what I can say, this. Look at this, still here. This link is being used. This link is being used. As per VLAN 3, now let's bring another color. Let's bring this one. As per VLAN 3, okay, the packet transmission this is blocked, right? So the packet transmission may happen like this. Can you see? So if you implement multiple VLANs, I'm just using all the links here. So this you can, like this, you can do little load balancing. Sorry? How come in the same direction? If all block this port, this link will be unusable, right? I cannot use this link at all. Are you getting my point? I'm saying if you make this as a core switch for all the VLANs, now this link is totally waste. Until a primary link goes down, I cannot transfer any data over here. All the packet transmission happens like this. Clearly understand? Since we made this as a core switch for VLAN 1, this as a core switch for VLAN 2, and this as a core switch for VLAN 3. So for VLAN 2 and VLAN 3 will be able to use this link, but they won't use another link. Like this, you can do little load balancing. Clearly understand? Or is it little confusion? I'll take one more scenario if you're confused. What about you people? You understand this, what I explained? Or do you want me to take one more scenario?
So, okay, but how it will be helpful as a load balancing?
No, that's what I said. No, let's say I'm going to delete this. Take this switch as this scenario as an example.
How it will help in load balancing?
No, I'll tell you. Let's take this. It will be quite easy to understand. Okay. So we're gonna make this as this is VLAN for VLAN 1. This is a core switch. Core switch for VLAN 1. And this is a core switch for VLAN 2. Is it clear? Now, as per VLAN 1, assume that this port is blocked. As per VLAN 1, this port is blocked. As per VLAN 2, we may block this port. Just for an example, I'm saying this port is blocked. Is it clear? Now, you imagine for both the VLANs, if I configure this as a core switch, now this link is blocked. So this link will be unusable at all for VLAN 1 traffic as well as for VLAN 2 traffic. But in my case, VLAN 2 will be able to use this link. VLAN 1 will be able to use this link. Now it's a load balance. We are using both the paths. Few packet are transmitting here and few packet are transmitting here as well. Is it clear? Now this is a little load balancing, not a perfection one, but little basic load balancing will happen.
But whether it is mandatory, all the different VLAN, different ports will happen.
It is not mandatory, but if you want to use all the links, then you should implement like that. Now you can make the core switch for all the VLANs as one.
Core switch identification, that is nothing but root switch only, no?
Root switch.
STP protocol is
STP protocol does it. Now STP, how it is going to elect first of all is go based on the priority number, then the MAC address. Now let's say this MAC address is 1111. How can I make this as a core switch? That's the question comes, right? The first one is actually the bridge priority. This is the default state, but you can change that. That's the only one configuration you can do it here. You can change. You can manually say, okay, this is the core switch now. I'm going to give the priority of, like, for example, 4096. Now this is having the lower priority. Is it clear? Now this will be a core switch. For VLAN 2, I'm going to specify that. Clearly understand? This configuration you can do.
Correct, but VLAN 2 also, VLAN 1 also will choose that core switch, no?
I'm specifying for VLAN 2. VLAN 1 PVST I said, right? For VLAN 1 by default, see, by default it is PVST only. Because by default all the switches have VLAN number 1. Okay, clearly understand? Now like this you can do the little load, but this concept is known as PVST.
So this means first time we are leaving to the default priority.
First of all, okay, in the huge organization, you don't leave auto. Now I already told you, again I'm telling you, In network, whatever you get auto, don't use it. Okay, so just put your hand, make some changes there. You decide which should be which should be a core switch. Now here what comes the 3-tier or 2-tier architecture, means the topologies. Okay, in organization, of course, we'll be having the head switch, right? The top level switch where it may be connected to the router and to the internet. So make that as a core switch. If you leave it as default, maybe the corner one, like the old station, the corner, there is one lower end switch. It's just like maybe 10 Mbps switch. That could become as a core switch. Then all the traffic will be try to route it over there. It's of no use.
No, sir. Normally, networking, the rack, which is the highest capacity in terms of
That is what highest capacity, which you keep it on the top level. Okay, here what comes the architecture. You have something called sorry. You can say like that. You have the layers here. As per Cisco, they have given 3-tier architecture that we'll discuss later. Okay, so core layer, distribution layer, access layer. The core layer, whatever the switch you keep, make that as a what is that, root, or maybe the distribution layer switches, you make it as a root. Is it clear? Don't leave it as auto because it gives a lot of problem. What you get problem and how to design, that is, for that you have a separate course in CCNP. For designing, you have a separate course. Okay, separate paper, separate concentration you have in CCNP in the upcoming certifications. Is it clear? So you got the concept, right? Okay, I just included all the stuffs because you will get a overall idea is what it is. Now the final one in this itself, it is known as port fast. Now, it's very simple. What is port fast? Now I already told you, if you have a switch, you connect any device to the switch, maybe the computer, maybe the router, or maybe a switch, right? It takes up to 30 seconds to bring the link up, right? It takes minimum 30 seconds to bring the link up. Now let's say this is required actually on the interfaces where I connect it to another switches. But is it necessary to have it on a computer and end devices? Not necessary. So nowadays you have the computers. Okay, so when you start the computer, it will just boot up within 10 seconds. It's not going to take like old days. It's not going to take like 30-50 seconds or 1 minute to boot up the devices. It's going to just take like less than 10 seconds. In that case, why should I wait for up to 30 seconds? Is it clear? That's why you have this port fast option. It is going to disable that listening and learning status. It's going to disable that. So whenever you plug in the device, immediately the link will come up. Immediately, in a second, the link will come up. Is it clear? How do we do that? So we're going to enable port fast. We're going to enable port fast. Clearly understand? It's going to disable listening and learning. Learning status, I said. Status. Or state. Not status, actually, it is state. State. Is it clear? Clearly understand? So you make sure that wherever you connect a computers, that's why I told already, have a look at the switches. Okay, so right side corner of the switch, you have 2 free ports or 2 free ports there, right? 2 or 1 free ports you will get there. There is no port. Port is not visible. It is just like closed. So that we use as a uplink, extra ports. That we use as a uplink. That is the port which we connect to another switch. Actually, is it clear? That is known as uplinks. So these ports, the normal common ports, will be connected to the end device, of course. So what you do, you just take all these links, the normal common links, and enable the port fast there. Because you are designing your network, you know that it is connected to the computer. So why do you want to make the devices to wait for 30 seconds? Are you getting my point? Now have a look here. So this is what my switch, where I usually connect all my devices. If I take the cable, okay, and if I plug into any interface here, look there, immediately the link came up. It's no orange. Okay, nothing is happening here because I know that I'm going to connect the normal computers here. Okay, so I just enable the port fast there. I'm not going to wait for 30 seconds.
So there is command actually. Through command will do it.
Sorry?
Through command.
Yeah, through commands will do it. Clearly understand? Any questions, any doubt on this? Okay, so this is the concept of spanning tree protocol, RSTP. Okay, and little bit introduction to PBS to also have given there. Clear understand? Okay, then let's take a break for 10 minutes. Okay, later I'll just show the verification of, excuse me, of this, and we'll complete either channel. Once it is done, your switching part is over. Okay, fine. Let's take a break. Okay, so now let's go and implement STP here. Okay, as I told, it's built-in available. You need not to do any configuration. Now let's have a look. I'm going to take 3 switches now. 1, 2, 3. So take a cable and connect it. Connect to any port. Doesn't matter. Let's connect to some random ports. Connect it. Now just have a count if you want. It's take up to like 30 seconds. Okay, to bring all the link up. Turn on 25. Approximately 15 seconds over. Hmm, 25, 26, 27, 28. See, done. It took 30 seconds and it's done. Clearly understand. Now have a look here. The STP runs and says that, okay, this is what the block which we are going to block. Decided to block this port. Now this is what the redundancy link. Now by looking at this, can you tell me which is the code switch? You can have a guess. As per the default one, you can have a guess. It is very simple, this one. It is very simple, this one. The reason is we connected to the same interface, same speed interfaces, and the cables we connected here. As per the default one, yes, of course, this one, because this will be the designated port and this will be the root port by default, right? And of course, this is the code switch. Clearly understand what I'm saying. Now let's go and verify it now. Okay, so you just this is, since it is a Cisco packet tracer, okay, just take a cursor and keep it on the device. Can you see the VLAN number there? VLAN 1 it is showing. Is it showing VLAN 1? Doesn't work like that. Have a look here. The below one, last one, VLAN 1. It is 0020. Okay, sorry, E0. Okay, that's a series you're not able to see. Listen, I'm going to write it on the screen. It is 00E0 series, and this is 00D0, and this is 00D058, 00D0BA. One second. Said this is 00E0. This is 00D0BA. This is 00D0 something like DB or something like that. I'm not sure. Let it be. Whatever it is. Oh, no. This is wrong. D0582B. Okay. This is 582B. Is it clear? Now, which is the lower MAC address? Of course, this one. Now look at the 00D0 here also it is right. It will go for the next one. Here I have BA, but this is 58. Of course, this is a lower MAC address. That is why this elected as a code switch. Now, as per this is the designated port and this is a designated port, right? And this is a root port and this is a root port. And of course, this is a redundancy link. Among again, compared to this two, which is having a lower MAC address, this one. So this is considered as a designated port and this is a blocking port. This is how I need to verify. Clear, understand? Now, since it is a Cisco packet tracer, you just took a cursor and kept on the switch and it got the MAC address and all, right? But how do you verify in actual scenario? Okay, you just get inside the switch, go to any switch. For example, I'll go to this switch. This is a verification command. So be in a privilege mode and type show spanning tree command. Show spanning tree command. Have a look here. Show spanning tree VLAN 001 because by default we have only one VLAN. Okay, and spanning tree enable protocol IEEE. Root ID. What is this root ID? It means root switch. It is saying that our root switch is priority is 32,769. This is the MAC address of a root switch, and this is the cost value we have to reach to the root switch. Okay, and I connected on port number 17. Connected on port number 70 to that switch. Hello time every 2 seconds. I said, right, BPDU will be sent every 2 seconds. And the maximum age is 20 seconds. Is it clear? This is what I said, the blocking one, 20 seconds, done. Now bridge ID, it's my bridge ID. Okay, my bridge ID is 32,769. That BPDU I said, right, both the information it is going to have bridge priority and the lower MAC address. That two combined and called as bridge ID. My bridge ID is 32,769, same, it is TIE. And my MAC address is 00D0BA. So I have the higher MAC address than this. That's why I'm going to consider this as a root switch or a core switch. Clearly understand? Shows all the information here. And look at this. A spanning tree I'm running on two interfaces, that is 0/16 and 0 time, overall time. I told that the blocking 4 times. So that's what aging time, maximum age time, delay 15 seconds.
No, hello time 2 seconds is your BPDU.
BPDU. Maximum age is 20 seconds. Aging time, that's what maximum aging time is 20 seconds. Now in aging time in the sense, in case if the, I told right, the primary link went down and if you want to bring the link up and all, 20 up to 20 seconds. Within 20 seconds it's going to come up. Okay. So now you look at the interfaces here, 0/16, 0/17, two interfaces you have. And the role is designated port and a root port. One is designated port, 0/16 is designated port, 0/17 is a root port. That's what is specified here. On 0/17, we connect it to the root switch. Clearly understand? Look at the cost, 19. Got the point? Okay, this is how I can verify it. Okay, go to other switch and have a look. Same stuff here. So I'll go to this switch. Now I'm going to enter a command called show spanning tree. Have a look here. Root ID 32,769, address 00D05828, and here bridge ID 32,769. It is TIE. Address 00E08F. So this is what our root. Sorry. Bridge ID is a bridge ID contain two information: bridge priority and a MAC address. Okay. Now look at this. Even I got two interfaces which is connected to other switches. Can you see there? Status is BLK locked, and it is forward. Clearly understand? Forward. Got it right? Now let's go and verify. Let's say I'm going to connect two computers here. Let's bring one computer here and one computer here. Let's take a cable and connect it. I'm going to connect to this. Okay, it's connected. So even though if it is having a direct link, it will actually communicate via this link because this is the active path. This is the redundancy path. Is it clear? That's what I told that. Let's assign one IP address and make them communicate. So I'll give 10.1.1.1. I'll give 10.1.1.2, for example. Done. Let's send the packet. Oh, something else. I'm going to connect again. I'm just going to connect randomly. Now have a look here. Again, you type check show spanning tree. Can you see there? 0/7. It is a listening. A listen means listening. Again, you type listening. 15 seconds is going to listen. Listening. And now it is changed to learning. Again, another 15 seconds is going to learn. Learning. Learning. Then it will come to forwarding state. Learning. Look at this. Forwarding state. This is what the states I told you. Okay. Now, in case if I connect one more switch there, so I'm going to connect here. Let's connect one more switch here. Now again, you have a look what happens. Now the state change state to up. Have a look here. Listening. Listening. If I try to show CDP neighbors, okay, I got. It was listening side, right? So I got other switches information there. Learning. Now it is learning. So CDP neighbors, we got the information there, right? Clear understand? That's why we have listening and learning status. But behind the screen, if you see, you need not to spend 15 seconds of time for listen and 15 seconds times for learning. That's why in RSTP they removed that, reduce that. Okay, done. Now it is forwarding stage. Clearly understand? Got it right? Okay. Now let's go and communicate between this. Of course, they will be able to communicate. Successful. They're able to communicate. If you want to actually see the path, now this is what I said. Just click on the simulation mode and send the packet from this PC to this PC. Look how the packet is going. Can you see that? Done. You got the successful message. It's completed. Again, if I click on next, have a look there. This is what your STP. Can you see that? Type STP is happening. This is a STP packet. It's running. Broadcasted. Now see what's happening there. It's broadcasting to all other interfaces. Have a look here. Now this is CDP, Cisco Discovery Protocol. Clearly understand? So this is how the communication will happen. This is all STP and CO, BPDU, CDP packets behind the screen packets. Got it right? Any questions in it after here? Now, let's do the continuous ping. I'll open up the terminal. Ping, what is that? Command prompt. I'm going to type like ping.1 or ping space 1.1.1.1. Yes, I'm able to ping. Let's do the continuous ping. I'm going to say -T. See, it is continuously pinging. Okay. Now I'm going to what is that? Plug out this cable. This one, primary link. I'm going to plug it out. Then we'll see what happens. Done. Just have a look here. It's going to take minimum 30 seconds to bring the link up. Till that, your packet will be dropped. Can you see that? It's going to take minimum 30 seconds to bring the other link up. That's what the problem we have with STP.
But even the aging time was 20 seconds.
Yeah, really?
Aging time was 20 seconds. So it will be within 20 seconds.
20 seconds for listening. 15 seconds for listening. 15 seconds for learning. Minimum it will take 30 seconds. After that, 20 up to 20 seconds. Now it is a small scenario, so within a second it will bring the link up. So the minimum time will be 30 seconds. If it is a huge scenario, then it may take 5 seconds extra or 10 seconds extra. That's why we used to say up to 20 seconds. Clearly understand? Got it right here. Now the link came up because we lost the connectivity up to 30 seconds here, minimum 30 seconds. Right? Now once I connect the cable back, again same stuff happens. Yes. Again, now it found a loop. Again, it will try to elect. It takes minimum 30 seconds again. Yes. Yes. Done.
Sir, but this time this time also, okay, that is because
Process will happen. Listening, learning is same.
the same port which was blocked before has again become the block.
Yeah. Because that is
that
having the lower MAC address. Higher MAC address. Okay.
even cost value is also very much.
Yes. So if you change the cost value, then it will be different. Got the point here? Any questions, any doubt on this? This is how it happened. Now let's change the link. Now, for example, this is the blocking port, right? Now I'm going to make changes on this. Now let's say, which is a core switch as per that. This is a core switch, right? And I'm going to make sure this switch elect this as a root port. Are you getting my point? This switch, as of now, it is electing this as a root port, right? But I'm going to make sure this switch is going to elect now this as a root port. How come? That's what I told that I'm going to change the interfaces now. Okay, speed over here. Say I'm going to take cable. Have a look here, and I'm connecting cable, and I'm going to connect to gigabit Ethernet. Now here the cost value is 19, but here it is 4 plus 4. Now which would be the blocking port? Of course, this one. Is it clear? Now this is the verification you have to do. Is it clear? Change the configure. I told all the values, right? You make some changes and have a look what happens. What is the result of? Clearly understand? Now previously we connected to the normal speed, but here I changed the speed here. Here I connected gigabit Ethernet, but here it is just have a look here. The link came up here, and this is a blocked one. Clearly understand? Why? Because when this switch electing a shortest path, it is elected this as a shortest path because here I have a cost value of 4 plus 4. It is 8. So just go and run show spanning tree command. You'll come to know. Clearly understand? Now, in case if I change here as 100 Mbps, now again this will be considered as a root port and this will be blocked. This will be blocked. Clearly understand? Like this, you need to calculate. Got it right? Any questions in this? One more concept. Done. What else? Okay, so this is the default one. By default, we have PVST, per VLAN spanning tree protocol. In the latest devices nowadays, whatever the higher end features you get, so there you may get RSTP. Is it clear? Now, this all supports from past decade, whatever the switches you have, that all supports RSTP. Now, let's run RSTP and have a look what happens. Are you getting my point? Let's run RSTP and have a look what happens there. Now, it's very simple to enable that. Let's say before enabling it, I told one configuration you can change, right? What is that? You can elect the switch which you want. You can elect that as a core switch. By default, this picked as a core switch, right? I don't want that. Assume this is the higher end switch I have here. I want to elect this as a core switch. Now it is electing as a blocking port switch, right? But I want to elect this as a core switch. So it is possible. So first we'll see how to elect a core switch. So in GC board, use a command called spanning tree VLAN. What is the VLAN we are running? By default, it is 1. And you can elect that in two different methods. One, you can set the priority by yourself. Okay, you can set the bridge priority by yourself. By default, what is the bridge priority? 30,768, right? But you did not ask me why it is 9. I've showed this till now around 5 to 6 times. I showed this bridge priority. It is showing 9 here. Are you getting my point? Why? So that is because of PVST. By default, it is 32,768. What VLAN number we are using? VLAN number 1, so plus 1 will be added. So it's become 32,769. If you implement VLAN number 10, then the priority shows here 32,778. I like that. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Don't be confused. So everyone needs to get confused. It's saying that 32,768, then why it is showing 69? It's shown here itself. Have a look. And SysID ext extend this one. Is it clear? Okay, fine. So bridge priority, spanning tree VLAN 1 priority, give a question mark. So you can give the number between 0 to 61,440. It is showing like that, but you cannot use any value by yourself. You cannot just pick the random values over there. The value, whichever you're going to give here, it should be the increment of 4,096. Means I can type 4,096. Now let's give, for example, 2. Showing an error message, you cannot use that. You can either use 4,096, 8,192, 12,288, 16,384. Okay, it should be the increment of 4,096. You can have these combinations. Okay, this is one method. Another one, same command, spanning tree VLAN 1. Now you can let switch elect the core switch. Now I'm just going to specify this should be a primary core switch. That's what. Spanning tree VLAN 1 root, and you specify primary. The value, the bridge priority value will be assigned by the switch themselves. You need not to give the value. Both the way you can configure, it's up to you. Are you getting my point? There is no difference. You give the value if you want, or you select this, the value will be picked automatically. The lower value will be picked automatically. Okay. And you also have an option here called secondary. You know the primary and secondary concept, right? Now let's say as of now, I'm going to make this switch as a primary. This switch as a primary switch. What if that goes down? So I'm going to say you act like a primary. So that's why we're going to select primary and secondary. It's possible. Is it clear? But if you want to give the value, you need to give one bridge priority value here, another bridge priority value here. Then it works. Clearly understand? In both the method you can configure, it's totally up to you. Got the concept here? Okay. Now let's say I'm going to make this as a code switch. I'm going to say you are primary. Done. Now once it is set to primary, by default it's going to pick a value of 24,000 plus. Okay, so let's have a look. Show spanning tree. Yeah, 24,576 actually. It is 577. Sure. Now this become as a code switch. Now look at this. The both link will come up after STP selection. Oh no. I have connected to gigabit Ethernet, right? So I've changed that. Okay, so this port make no this or this port may get blocked as per that. Okay, let's keep. Look at this. This port is blocked. This port is blocked. Clearly understand? This is the core switch now. This is the core switch now. Clearly understand? Now, under the starting default one, I said this cannot be a core switch because you have a blocking port opposite side. But here we have a different interface speed. I have gigabit here. That's why this port is blocked. If I go with a normal value, probably this port will get blocked. Okay. Do you want to check that? Are you getting my point? Now let's say I'm going to disconnect the cables here. These two cables. I will connect to the normal ports. Say I'm going to connect this to the normal ports, the fast Ethernet ports. Now have a look here. I'm going to forward seconds. Look at this. As I told, this is blocked. Clearly understand? Okay. How you verify? I know that I directly told because earlier this was a core switch, right? Because this is having the lower MAC address. It's so simple. Now this is the core switch. These are the designated port. And if I give the same speed, this will be a root port. This will be a root port. Now, of course, this is a redundancy link. Now this is having the lower MAC address. So of course, this is going to be blocked. So you should analyze that in just like seconds, in just like, I don't want to say seconds, in minutes. Take 5 minutes. Within that, you should be able to verify that. So if you practice it, then only you can do that. Is it clear what I'm saying? Got it, right? Okay. So I've showed how to change the value. This is the only configuration you have with STP. Okay. So next, port fast. I said, right, whenever you connect the device, it's going to take up to 30 seconds. We're going to disable it now. Okay. So you can disable them with two methods. Now, for example, I'm going this. I'm on this switch and I'm disabling it. You can disable it that on two ways. One, in GC mode, you give spanning tree, port fast, default command. Whenever it says GC, it's global configuration. It will affect your whole switch. Means this particular switch is going to affect the whole switch, the entire switch. I'm not saying all switch. In this switch, you may have plenty of interfaces. It will affect all the interfaces. Okay, that's what GC says. Global configuration. What's that? Mode. Is it clear? But if you enable that, it's going to create a problem. What is the problem? I said this will apply on all the interfaces, right? That creates a problem. What is that? Because we connected to other switches. The interfaces which you connected to other switches should not be a port fast because it should run STP algorithm. Are you getting my point? The port fast, it's kind of disabling an STP. Okay. Now let's say I will go to the interface and I'll give the command. I'm not executing that here. I remove it. I'm not executing it. Okay. I'll go to the interface. What is the interface I connected to the computer? It is 0/20. Fast Ethernet 0/20. And here you can say spanning tree port fast, same command. No default, spanning tree port fast. Hit enter, it will pop up error or what's that warning message, not the error message, warning message. Have a look here. Warning. Port fast should only be enabled on ports connected to a single host. Connecting to hubs, concentrators, switches, bridges, etc. to this interface when port fast is enabled can cause temporary bridging loops. Whatever the loop is said, when we start STP topic, that will happen here. So don't enable port fast on all the interfaces. Enable the port fast only on the end devices, a single device where you connected. Is it clear? That's what even I told previously when I was explaining. On the normal ports, you enable the port fast. Uplinks, it should act like, it should run the STP. Okay, this is the command to enable the port fast. You got it right? So port fast means we are just disabling that listening and learning state. Now have a look here. We'll go for the verification now. I'm going to take this. I've removed it. Just connect. Oh, we should connect to 0/20. Oh, look here, 0/20. I'm connecting now. Immediately it came up. You connect to any other interface, it's taking time. You connect to 0/20. immediately up and run show spanning tree protocol here. 0/20 is forwarding state designated by default. Clearly understand? This is how we can verify STP, and even we have seen the port path, and we have changed the cost values there, right? We have changed the interfaces. We did all the kind of verification. Okay. Now, what did I said? RSTP. Let's go and enable RSTP. Again in GC mode, spanning tree mode, rapid PVST. This is a command which will enable RSTP. You should run RSTP on all the switches. Done. Let's go to this switch. I'll give again. Spanning tree mode, rapid PVST. Rapid -PVST.